G'day, by now you know I am Kaylin, and today's topic of discussion is Impro Hardware with CS Time. So I'm going to show you, you might have a site that's got Impro Hardware there and you've got CS Time installed there, and you need to connect, make a link between the two and connect those two together in order for the clockings to come through from the Impro database into CS Time. Now, there's no other third-party modules that you need to install, it's simply installing CS Time. You do need to, however, get some information in terms of the username and password for the Impro database, and also where the location of that database is in order for you to connect then from CS Time. So I'm going to show you this. So if we move on over to our hardware file, our config module, we're going to go to our hardware screen, and we need to obviously set up the Impro device here. Now what you need to also just check before you actually set up the hardware here is if you go to your features, you need to make sure under the hardware tab that the Impro has been enabled. And obviously if you don't have any other devices, just then deselect those so that you've merely got Impro ticked there. Okay, so I've got Impro selected. In my hardware screen, if I click on the add button, you'll see you can now add a database, because you're going to obviously then use the Impro database, and you're going to connect from CS Time to that database there. Okay, so you've got your description that you can put in. I'm simply going to call it Impro. You can then set a last collection date. So obviously if you haven't set this, it'll import all the information that is in that database into CS Time, then clockings however much data there is in there. If you say only want to import it from let's say the 1st of Jan, you can then set that last collection date there, and also then obviously the time. You need to then also specify what database type is it. Is it the IXB 220 or the IXB 400? So depending on the setup that you've got there with the Impro devices, you'd have to select the relevant one. In my case, I've got an IXB 220 database here. If we then click on the connection tab, this is where we need to fill in the information as to where the database is and what the username and password is. So now I've got this Impro database on my PC, so I'm going to use my details here. It's a local setup. Obviously if it's a different one, you're going to use different PC, you'll then use that IP address. So the server name, you need to put in the IP address, so let's put in mine there. Okay, and then also you need to put in where the database location is. So this will be the full path that database is. I'm going to simply copy and paste it so that I don't need to type the whole thing out. There you go. I need to also put in the username and password. Okay, and you don't need to worry about the comms address, it'll automatically create that. You can then click on the test connection button just to check if that connection is successful. Obviously if it isn't, you'd need to just then find out, is there perhaps your password is correct, your username is correct, or then obviously just make sure that that database path is correct. Now obviously your Impro system will already have been configured. The database is set up, everything, so you merely need that information in order to connect to that. Okay, so we've got a successful connection there. We're going to click on OK. If we go to the last tab, synchronize, depending on what you want to import from that database, you can obviously then tick the relevant fields. Now if you're initially setting up CS Time and you'd like everything to just come through, basically if there is any new employees added as well, that it'll automatically import into CS Time, you need to then just go and tick all the import ones there. So that's the safest. Simply go and tick import employees, import cards, and import your departments as well to CS Time. Once you've specified all this information here, you can click on OK, and that database will be added to the system. Now you obviously don't have any clocks populated under this tree here. It's simply a connection to the database. Don't stress too much about that. Once you've actually opened up your comms, the clock will obviously, or CS Time will synchronize with the database, and it'll import all that information. So I'm going to show you. I'm going to open up my server module. I'm going to just open up my comms. So I've only got my comms running on this one, but I'm just going to show you what you need to see. Let's wait for that to just initialize. And obviously it takes a little while for it to start up and connect to that database. Let me just move on this one over here as well. and let's give it some time. Now obviously I haven't set a last collection date on this database, so what's going to happen now is it's going to simply take all the clockings that I have collected in that ISP220 database, and it's going to bring it through to CS time. So if we just give it a little while to connect and do its thing, we should then see that it'll start collecting those clockings. Now it's not up to you to set up the Impro database and the connection at this moment, so that you would have to then get from your IT guys, perhaps then, or if obviously you can contact the people that actually set up that Impro database in order to get that information. Something that you need to also just note, depending on the operating system that you have, there might be a difference in the path that you would use, perhaps like the IP address, or if you use host name, if you can use it or not use it. The easiest way to or thing to actually check is if you just pop on over to our docs website and you just check under installing CS time, Impro and CS time. Yeah, you will also see a guide of what I've just shown you here and how to configure that, and at the bottom you'll also see there's a client to host Firebird connection set up there. So if you open that one, it'll also give you some tips and information there, and other connections that you can or another utility you can use to test the connection to the database, and then also depending on your operating system, 32-bit or 64-bit, which type of connection and data path you can use in CS time. So pop on over to docs.cstime.com and just take a look at that then if you do get stuck. So let's just pop on over here. I'm going to open up my comms again and let's see what it's doing. So it says collecting clockings. Let's see, I wonder if it would have populated that already. So let's just take a chance. I'm going to close the screen and refresh it, and it has already populated. So there you'll see it actually has then put in all my devices that I've got connected to that Impro database has been automatically imported here. Now obviously you can then go and set each device to set whether they need to be a payroll device or simply an access control device, or then if you want them to be both, you can specify that, or if it's also then an information clock, etc., etc. So you can also go and change the description if you want to. If there's something else that you'd prefer to call it, just change that, click on OK, and that information will be changed. And that's setting up Impro in CS time. It's pretty easy, not too much there. Like I said, all you need is the connection details, username and password, and you should be able to set this up and obviously connect to that database there then. Quite easy there. I don't think it's too difficult. So yes, I hope that you've learned something and that you will then be able to connect your Impro to CS time and start enjoying the benefits of having CS time with all its functionality there. And I hope that you will join me next time in our next training video. Goodbye.